I'm glad you didn't ask any of my ex-girlfriends that question, Kyle.
We already know the answer to that, Steve.
Yeah, we already know the answer to that one. Trust me. Sorry, go ahead.
Well,
Mercedes.
A lot of times it's the production studio. So like sometimes it's how they film. So like let's say like a Brazzers, like they cut a lot and they want really specific shots and really specific positions, and so you can't get into a flow because it's really directed the whole time. And like depending on your tenure as a performer, like I'm at a point where they pretty much let me run my own show. Like most directors stay the fuck out of my way. I'm like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're gonna. Because I fucked on a kitchen counter fucking 30 times in my life now for porn scenes, so I know how to do it. This is how it's going to be done. But some scripts, I mean, they've got like some corporate head in Montreal is like, I want this exact fucking shot, and so we've got to do those things. So I think a lot of times, when people say, "Oh, well, porn's authentic," I'm like, well, the way they're filming it lends to that. But then you get some other scenes where it's totally authentic, totally go time. And actually that buy scene, what I loved about that is because I got to choose my talent, because they came to me and they said, "Hey, Mercedes, what do you do?" And I work with those guys all the time at that company, but they hadn't shot me for a buy scene yet. And I said, yeah, but I want my two friends. And so these are friends of mine who I got to have a scene with. So we had way more fun, and we ran it through totally organically. We just did whatever the fuck we wanted, and they kept cameras on us.
Yeah, you can tell.
So those are and you can tell, like, people can see it. They're like, oh, that's so much fun. But they're like, that's our rapport too. So that was kind of the best of all worlds converging, where they're friends and we're working for a company that lets us do whatever we want. And then on the other hand, I've got the thing where they're like, hey, we're booking you with this person. Your call time is some stupid fucking early thing, and you're gonna have to do this stupid script. And I'm like, okay, that's my job as a performer. So.
How long are you actually, like, for let's say that it's a 25 to 30 minute video that's going to go out of you. How long are you, or how many days, hours, how long are you actually filming for that 25 to 30 minute scene?
For the most part, like, so like a company like Brazzers will do like one scene a day. So it'll take them all day to do pictures and like get everything, do all the intro and stuff. And by all day, I mean probably like 8 a.m. to like 5 p.m. To do like one scene. Some of them, like the buy scene, and I'll just use that for reference because you saw it. I think they filmed 2 or 3 scenes that day. So basically what you saw is what happened. Like, I don't think we did any action. Yeah, so it was just that, and that's why you can tell this have better energy. It feels really organic.
Yeah. Is it weird when people are like crowding around you with cameras and all that, or do you get used to it?
Porn runs kind of like a skeleton crew for the most part. So usually when we're filming, any superfluous people are sent out for that reason. It's mostly for the guys. It's mostly so that they don't lose their hormones. Because they're the ones. Yeah, they're the ones who actually, like, they're the total unsung heroes, because everybody pays attention to the women, but realistically, and this is why the bar was set so low for women for so long. Like, any bitch can put some lube in her cunt and pretend to like it, and there you got a porno, right? But the guy they're the shit. They're the ones who matter, because they are the actual operating members, and if they can't do their job, and I'm talking in a boy girl scene or gay guy scene. Obviously the lesbian scenes have their own thing too. And actually, the lesbian scenes, it's usually where they film the most content. For some reason, they'll shoot 45 minutes to an hour of sex for lesbian scenes. And I think it's because they like to do a lot of close shots, because the people who are fans of that work, they want like a more sensual experience. So they kind of draw it out. Whereas, like I've done gonzo scenes where literally I've showed up, makeup done, gotten on set, taken some pictures, and shot a 25, 30-minute scene, and only been on set for an hour and a half all day.
Oh, wow.
So it just depends.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. That varies a lot.
Huge range.
What are some of the ways that they actually keep the guys ready for action? Because, I mean, that's got to be, I know probably the first time is the performance anxiety's got to creep in sometime. I mean, that happens with people who aren't doing porn.
Yeah, that's why there's very few male performers, and the few that are, they make less money than the women, but they work way more often. So let's say that they'll make on average a third to half of what we make a scene, but they'll work every day, sometimes twice a day. Viagra is used. They actually, a lot of these like new athletic scenes that you see, it's because we have access to Viagra. That's why you didn't see that stuff in the 80s. There's also Caverject. Some of the guys do that. It's an injection that you can use. I guess they use it for some sort of surgery, but it causes like a 2-hour erection. And then also there's a new technology. It's a penis pump. So they put this, I don't know, it's a pumping mechanism. It looks like another testicle. And with the testes, and you pump it, and it pumps the dick up. So that's a new technology. It's
still has to be physically exhausting. I mean, just for the average Joe Smuckatelli like us, having sex it's a workload. It's a challenge half the time, especially as you get older. I couldn't even imagine having
You're
to
not
do
doing
it.
it right then, Steve.
Kyle, trust me, you'll get there. But yeah, I can't imagine how much physical shape you have to be in order to have that kind of grueling demand on you.
Yeah, and that's why I always tell people we're really athletes. We're sex athletes, and I think that when you see girls burn out and have like a fucking meltdown about the industry, it's because they didn't understand that coming into it, we're performers primarily. So it's more like a circus than it is like a TV show, because we're doing athletics and we're doing them in weird ways, and there's risk associated with it, and people don't. It's kind of like nobody looks up to carnies, nobody looks up to porn stars.
Yeah,
we take it. But we're
there's a few that I have. There's a few stars out there that I've appreciated over the years, for sure.
Yeah,
but back in my day,
a lot of
you gotta remember back in my day, it was you had like what's called selecting on TV, right? And it was all scrambled, and so you would have like a little analog thing. You would kind of tune it so you get that little scramble thing out of the way. You're like, that's a boob. That's a boob. Yes, that's how I started in the porn. Yeah,
that's horrible.
Yeah, like I love.
I'm not even kidding, Kyle. That's a true story. Yeah.
Sex athlete though, that's probably the coolest sounding occupation that you can have though. I am a sex athlete.
Yeah,
I know. I love my
gold medalist.
job. I love my profession. I love the industry. I've come to love it more the longer I'm in it. It's because it's such a fucking cool thing to do for a living. If you can keep your head on, I think a lot of times when the girls burn out, they were either unwell to begin with, which is common because again, we're telling people that this is where the dysfunctional people go. So then you got people who are fucked up, and so this is feeding itself, and then also, it's hard for people to deal with like the fan element because the brain wants to focus on the 10 or 20% of shit as opposed to the 80-90% of great. It's like I'm sure you guys get all kinds of shit comments sometimes on YouTube, whatever.
Oh yeah,
that's life. And people are. You can't.
Have you seen our flat Earth? Have you seen our flat Earth videos? The flat Earthers.
No,
Okay. We'll have to send you to them. We actually have a wide variety of things that we do, and one of the bigger things that we do for dumpster fires is we actually have flat Earthers come on and try to argue for flat Earth, and they are nuts. Oh, no. They're psychotic, and they've left the most ridiculous comments we've ever seen. They're bizarre, but people watch.
We're very hated.
We haven't seen anything too good. Yeah.
You guys are
very
really
hated.
part of the. You're like part of the reptilian Illuminati overlord.
Oh yeah,
disinfo.
Absolutely, yes. NASA pays us well to shill for them. Mm-hmm.
Steve brought up a good point though. How have you seen porn change in terms of? I remember when I was just coming out of. I was in middle school and high school, and that was in the time of AOL. So you had dial-up. When it had that annoying noise that would play when you were trying to get on the internet.
24 bots
so you would
screeching.
you literally wait for 5 minutes for one picture to pixelate across the screen, and I remember looking up porn, waiting for that, a boob to pixelate across the screen.
You see the picture kind of scan like this. You're like, is that part of the areola? Yeah. Wait, is that nipple?
Now you have it everywhere. You have it everywhere. You want it. So how have you seen the industry change, and where is it going? Like, what's the next frontier in porn?
Well, I wasn't around for this, but I hear all the stories because anytime you're on a porn set and one of my good friends, Mike Quasar, he's one of my favorite people of all time, and he's a big deal director, so he's been around forever. My friend David has been around since '87, so he's actually got 30 years of tenure. We talk about this. The thing that really affected the porn industry was the tube sites, and it was the inability of the industry to kind of work together to form some sort of coalition to keep content from being stolen. It's like if you make mainstream Hollywood movies, there's a lot of protections there. So they work with the government to block your access to, I don't know, whatever the latest fucking superhero movie is, to download online from some Russia or Malta or whatever. The industry didn't do that, and so the tube sites pretty much decimated them. Like Pornhub, Xhamster, all those sites that are now trying. What they did was they went in and they gutted everything. They stole all the content to the point that production companies were more or less bankrupt and then bought all of them. So now that company owns like 80% of the industry. And now they're learning that because they've stolen the content and they've made it free, now they can't make money on the scenes that they create. They're monetizing a lot of web traffic. That's more their probably thing. But it's changed. That's why I said everything's SEO driven now. Everything is about your SEO tags because it's all about how we can index that and make the most the clicks. And the social media has changed the perception too, because back like Vivid and a lot of those companies, they had big PR arms and they would put all the girls in contract, and then you'd have somebody who kind of babysat them. It was an intermediary between the fans and the girls, right? So that's why like AVN Expo existed or exists, and it was a big deal back then and not so much now. Because it was your only way that you could meet some of these girls. If you wanted to meet Jenna, you had to go to the thing. Like you could send letters to Vivid and probably get a response, but it was coming from some PR department, not Jenna herself.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, so it's hurt the money though. The money's not there. There were people making just a fortune putting really bad content online, or it is the internet, just because it was porn and it was on the internet. That was enough to sell. Yeah.
What do you think about the move into the virtual reality porn? That seems to be picking up.
I've done about, let's see, I want to say 6 or 7 VR scenes.
Cool.
I think that the limitation with it is like it would do better, and there's probably video games for this. I just don't know. I don't keep up on that. I should look it up. That do virtual reality like sex. I think that the scenes themselves haven't taken off because, first of all, I mean, you got to jerk off with a fucking helmet on your head. So that's, unless you live alone, that's kind of, right? You're so totally immersed in your fucking, whoever opens the door, you can't tell. So I think that's part of it. And I also think that because just of the nature of the scenes, it's not necessarily interactive. Like you're immersed in an experience that already happened and you're replaying that, right? But when you film like let's say an actress for a VR scene, what they do is they set the cameras up pretty much where the guy's head is. So he's either like laying flat or he's reclining in a chair or laying down or whatever, but he can't do anything. So the male performers are totally at our mercy. They can't do anything. They can't move because the person wearing the headset didn't move. You know what I mean? And then it's how much can you do like with one person looking at a camera for 20, 30 minutes and do it the way they set it up? They'll do like 5 minutes. So like 5 minutes of reverse cowgirl. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, if you were doing that in real life, like that's pretty fucking boring. So I think it hasn't really taken off. It's because you're looking at somebody's back for 5 minutes, Right. I mean, I don't think that, and watch porn, they will look for faces and cues. I mean, we're humans. We're adult, like we're animals. We're looking for those cues, and when you take those away, and you actually, and this is the thing that feminists always say, porn objectifies, but it really doesn't, because when they did studies on it, they found that men overwhelmingly look at faces and micro expressions and other kind of social cues to see if they're doing a good job. Right? It's hey, men want to do a good job. They're watching women going, hey, is she getting off on this? Actually, it was women who objectified breasts and penises and vaginas and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's actually the eyes that tell the story, right? I mean, when you're looking at the eyes, right. The eyes, most people look directly at the eyes. But it's funny you mentioned that. I watched just recently Ready Player One. Have you seen that? Great movie, no. But it has a lot of things about augmented reality, and I think that might be more of a wave of future than even virtual reality, because people have these headsets, but it doesn't actually like remove all the rest of the surroundings. It just augments the existing reality. That might be, I think, a better way to go than you said. It may not be as immersive, but you're not disassociating yourself with reality entirely, where you have to like sit there in this little encapsulated visor thing,
See, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, I'm surprised nobody's done that. I might take that and run with it because that's exactly